Hey guys, Matt here. So as you can see, we're in a different presentation. I don't usually like doing this face-to-face kind of thing anymore, this face-forward camera, but the knife we're looking at today is so freaking big, I kind of have to do this presentation. So as you know by the video, we are looking at the Magnum Tanto. Now this is the Magnum Tanto 12. Cold Steel makes this in a Magnum Tanto 2, which you would think is 2 inches, but it's 7 inches. Magnum Tanto 9 and a Magnum Tanto 12. Over the years, they've had many different sizes, but currently you can get it 7.5 inch, a 9 inch, and a 12 inch blade. This is too big to have on the tabletop. That's why we are doing this presentation. Now, I have owned numerous Magnum Tantos. I have owned the 2 in both 3V and in San Mai. I've owned the 9 and I've owned this in San Mai, and currently this one is the Magnum Tanto 12 in CPM 3V. Not in the Nightfall version. This is kind of new, being in satin. I believe it was in 2021, right, when GSM bought Cold Steel. So we are looking at all things Magnum Tanto. I just have the 12 version as a representation for this particular video. So as always, we are going to talk about what I like, what I dislike, and something unique. But let's talk a little bit about specs. I'm not going to talk too much about specs because it varies so much with all these Magnum Tantos. You know, you have one that's got a 7.5 inch blade. Then you have one that has a 9 inch blade. You have the one that has a 12 inch blade. The Magnum Tanto 2, which is the 7.5 inch blade one, and the Magnum Tanto 9 are available in the Nightfall series, which has a DLC coated guard and pommel. And those are in 3V, and they are flat ground. This one is available in San Mai, and it is hollow ground. This is also available on 3V and being hollow ground as well. And also, I believe you can still get the Magnum Tanto 9 and the Magnum Tanto 2 in San Mai, though I haven't seen those in stock recently. You know, these are kind of a variation, kind of a natural escalation, natural evolution of, you guessed it, the Master Tanto. You can see the kind of similar design elements in the pommel, though the guard is a bit different. I don't have a Master Tanto on table that I can show you, but the guard on the Master Tanto just has a front guard and not a back guard. This looks more like a Suba, kind of on a katana, you know, kind of a rounded circular guard. But the pommel is very similar, and the handle overall nearly identical. So that's all the specs we're going to get into, because they obviously weigh very different. You know, they cost different prices. I'll leave that up to you guys to kind of decide and look into. I will speak to this particular one and the value available on this Magnum Tanto 12 in 3V. But first, let's get into what I like about the Magnum Tanto by Cold Steel. Well, look at this thing, especially the 12-inch version, but even the other kinds. This is a beautiful knife, just like I talked about with the Master Tanto. You know, this particular blade, it's not really, it technically is still a knife, but it's nearly wakizashi size, which is like a Japanese short sword, kind of a companion, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on this one, guys. A companion to like a katana would be what a wakizashi was. This would be rather large for a traditional Japanese tanto. So it's almost wakizashi size. And so just to show you guys as a comparison, here's the Cold Steel Gladius machete. You know, obviously there's a little bit less length on this, but you know, this is kind of considered a short sword. It's not that far off, right? Pretty incredible having a 12-inch length blade. But overall, you guys know that I love the looks of the Master Tanto, and this kind of capitalizes on that. Regardless of the size, it's just a beautiful, beautiful knife, short sword, whatever you want to call it. So another thing I love about this, and again, all versions, is the balance. This knife feels incredible in hand. Now, I'm not a knife fighter, but I know when something is balanced well, because I can do this, right? That is where that knife, let's see, right there is where it's balanced. So it does have a tiny bit of forward heft, you know, this larger version, but it feels so incredible in hand, especially for its size. You know, larger knife like this Bowie, this is the Cold Steel Wild West Bowie, it feels great in hand, but it's very heavy because this is more of a chopping. It's a weapon, but it's also a tool. So it has more forward heft. So you're not going to get the balance like you would. You know, the balance is going to be more right here. Still relatively well balanced, but for this having, you know, 2.5 more inches than this is balanced very well, and the other ones are balanced very, very well as well. They're great feeling fighting knives. They really are. They can be utility knives. You know, you can use a knife for anything. You can use a sharp cutting tool, but these are really fighting knives, and that really shows in the way they feel in hand. So I think the balance is really, really great. I also love this handle. I won't talk about it too much because I just go on and on about this handle, especially in the Master Tanto. It's so comfortable. This cylindrical handle with that kind of skull cracking pommel. It's so comfortable. It's very modular. I love this handle. Lynn Thompson said this is the most comfortable handle he has designed. I think that this and the SRK and the Recon Tanto, they all are so very comfortable, and I think I love it. Another thing I really like is the curved Tanto blade. Now, I much prefer a Tanto blade that is curved and that doesn't start, so the tip is a little bit higher than where it starts at the base. That means that this has a nice slight curve to it, kind of like a katana would, right? So that means it's going to slice and cut well, which is awesome. Again, this is a fighting knife. I hope you guys are not getting into regular knife fights or any knife fights at all. But this is going to be very clearly a very lethal weapon. Matt, you don't have any experience with knife fighting or martial blade craft or any specific sort of martial art. You're right, but a sharp object that's long and that's stout and that's made of good steel that's balanced well, it's going to be a good fighting knife, right? I don't have to be an expert to kind of know that. So I love this handle, and I think that this curved Tanto blade just it all pieces itself together into one elegant fighting blade. All right, let's see what else. So I really appreciate how lightweight this is for its size. Now I don't remember the exact weight, but I want to say this specific one is around 15 ounces. For a 12-inch blade, the Cold Steel Wild West Bowie is a lot heavier. I think it's around 20 ounces, 23 ounces. And then I got another Bowie on table. This is the Ontario SP5 Bowie. This is a lot lighter. This is probably around the same weight. Look at the blade differences, guys. Look at how much more reach you're getting on this Cold Steel Magnum Tanto. So each Tanto that they designed, each Tanto rather, I'll try to say Tanto more, guys. Each Tanto that they have designed is very, very well weighed and very, very balanced for its size. So I really appreciate that. If you're going to use the smaller ones for, a bit of utility tasks, you could use this as a small machete. You can get a lot cheaper of a small machete. This SP5 Bowie is like $50, a lot cheaper of kind of a small machete. But if you're going to use it for any sort of utilitarian tasks, just because say you like a Tanto, who cares? Go for it, I say. If you like this and you want to use it in the woods, I say go for it. But it's just not going to have as much weight. It's not going to, it's not going to feel as heavy in hand, not going to be as tiring to swing. Also, on the other hand, it's not going to chop as well as something with a big, broad, kind of heavier, more forward blade. But still, I really like how lightweight this blade is, and all their smaller variations are as well. Another thing I really appreciate is the value. Now, this goes for this one, but this also goes for the other ones. This in CPM 3V, which this is 12 inches of CPM 3V, is $230 on Amazon right now. That is incredible. That is absolutely outstanding for that steel and for how much of it you are getting. Because you get a knife like this, and they go for like $120. This is $10.90. It's a very budget-oriented steel. Now it's a cool blade, and it's a perfectly usable steel. But it's not anywhere near what this is, what CPM 3V is. So I think that this is an incredible budget, and you can get right now the Magnum Tanto 2, Magnum Tanto 12 for around $200 as well, or the Magnum Tanto 9, both in Nightfall. So they're just a great deal for that much CPM 3V. I would challenge you to find something that kind of matches that budget for that quality of steel. Again, these are mostly fighting knives, so a lot of the knives you're going to find in those steels are going to be bushcraft knives or utility knives. But still, it's pretty incredible what they're putting together. This is Taiwanese made, by the way, in case you guys didn't know. Another thing I really like is the fit and finish. Now, one thing I have talked about with Cold Steel Tantos is their grinds. Now you can see this one is very even on this Tanto. There's no uneven grind on the top of that. Everything is fitted together beautifully. There are no lines anywhere on this thing. The edge came sharp. It's just, everything is put together very, very well. And that's very common on these nicer Tantos that Cold Steel puts together. Very, very good fit and finish. You're paying for $200-something knife. Nowadays, that doesn't seem that expensive, right? We used to think it was. But it shows in this blade. and it could go for $100, $200 more, and I still think it would be worth it with the materials that you're getting. I still think that it is a fantastic deal, really, for any of the sizes. So fit and finish, excellent, and all the other ones I've owned have been excellent as well. Okay, so I do not have anything I don't necessarily not like on this. It's one of those blades, guys. Cold Steel Tantos, they do something right with them. They seem to always have. The one thing I don't mind, so we're going to have one thing I don't mind on this blade, and it is, let me grab it real quick, the sheath. Now, the sheath is their standard Secure X sheath. It actually has good fitment. It fits in there solidly. It doesn't wiggle out. It does not move at all. So that might be what you guys want. For a knife like this, though, which is more of an heirloom piece, more of a wall hanger, more of something that you're going to just sit there and admire, and you're going to hold it when you're watching Lord of the Rings, or when you're watching one of those medieval shows, or something like that. I would prefer something like the old leather that they did, just because I think it matches the aesthetic and it feels more appropriate with that. Now, that Secure X sheath I actually think is really good. Some of their Secure X sheaths they don't fit quite right. They don't really just feel right. They rattle a bit. The tension isn't quite there. But like with this Cold Steel Wild West bow, it comes with a nice leather sheath, and it just feels right. It feels right. It's leather. It smells good. It smells like leather, and it feels right for this Bowie style. This I know is trying to be kind of a modernized example of like a Wakizashi or like a long Tanto blade, so that's why they did the Secure X sheath. And if you wanted to bring it with you anywhere, it would probably be very practical. But again, just would like something more, more classic, something like leather. So that's my preference, and it's just something I don't mind because there's nothing wrong with this knife. I wouldn't know what to say. Of course, I would prefer it without a top guard, but it's going for a very clear aesthetic, and I understand the aesthetic, and especially it being a fighting knife. This is very, very clearly a dedicated fighting knife, right? So I can forgive that top guard. There's just not anything I really don't like about this knife. So that brings us to what's unique about this. Look at it. Do I need to say anything? Do I need to say anything about how unique this is? A 12-inch Tanto Wakizashi style blade with modern high-quality materials that's gonna, take anything you could give to it, right? Gonna be as tough as nails for around $220, $250. That's what's unique. This is a modernized reproduction done to just outstanding quality control and outstanding pristine levels. That's what's unique about this. Any of the Cold Steel Magnum Tantos are that. They are done to extreme levels, very good, very high quality, and that's what's unique. I don't know another knife company. CRKT has been issuing some, modernized kind of Tantos, some, really cool designs, and I've really, really liked those, but they're not putting out anything this price, this high quality materials, nowhere near close. And it's so cool that Cold Steel is still doing something like this, and I just love it. I really appreciate it. So absolutely, I recommend this. I recommend all sizes, all styles. One thing I will mention is when I've owned the Magnum Tantos in the Nightfall series that are flat ground, the edges are really thick. They don't slice very well, and so like I had a Master Tanto I was using for just some carving stuff, and it just didn't slice very well because it was just a thick edge. The hollow ground one seemed to bite in a little bit more, which makes sense based on the grind geometry. So just pick the one that you want. Pick the one that you like. The Sanmai version's just as beautiful, just as good a fit and finish. It's gorgeous blade. If you're gonna use the blade for anything, in the outdoors, again, if you like that, you go for it. I say, if you appreciate a Tanto like this and you want to use it, I say just go for it. But if you're going to use it, I would recommend the 3V version. If you're going to kind of hang it up on your wall or just admire it, I'd recommend the Sanmai version. Save a few bucks, and it's still going to be just as pretty. You get that cool lamination line. So absolutely, I recommend them. I think that is just so cool that they're producing this, and they're producing it to the qualities that they are producing them. Anyway, pick one of these up, pick whatever size you appreciate, pick a few up. They're not that expensive, especially if you like to have kind of all of the series in a collection. I say go for it. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys, remember we have a giveaway going on a Cold Steel Kobun. Go back to that video a few videos ago. It's labeled I'm giving away a Cold Steel Kobun. Make sure and check that out. Follow the instructions on there to be entered to win. The giveaway will end the week of February 8th. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.